Go for looks because the ugly ones will treat you just as badly. It's true.
Go for looks because the ugly ones will treat you just as badly. And she says that's true. Now, Tinder is all about looks. It's just like they're swiping on a profile and all they see is the photo. And 20% of the men get the attention. 80% of men don't. So women are going for looks. And of course that makes the good-looking men have options. And of course if he's going to exercise those options, who wouldn't? The women do it. The good-looking women, they breeze through life. I've seen it. So, there's, this is a young woman who's really got a tenuous grasp on reality, for the most part, by the looks of it. So let's keep going.
And I think a lot of us have recognized that. I think a lot of women have gone for people that they didn't find particularly attractive because they thought that they would be more humble and treat them better.
No, that's a little bit simplistic, isn't it, really? There's your good-looking guy who the women like to be seen with because it bolsters their ego, of course. But a man's economic position or standing in society is attractive to women. It doesn't matter whether or not he looks good. He can have social standing, and of course the woman wants to be a part of that because it brushes off on her, so to speak. So you might have a CEO of a company, for example, who happens to be the ugliest son of a bitch you've ever seen, and women are all over him because of his social standing. And there's also the money, of course, and the lifestyle, all that kind of thing that attracts women. So no, this is a little bit simplistic on your part, love.
And then their ego is like as big as it would have been if they looked like Zac Efron. The question is, why did we think that was going to work? Women put their entire value in the way they look. Society has taught us to do that.
No, not true. That's female nature. Women want to marry up, basically. It's hypergamy. Now there was one instance in history of a matriarchy. In other words, a society that was ruled by women. And you'll have to do the research on this yourself because this is years ago I read about this. But the upshot is the women, the most beautiful woman in the society was the leader. And they went from there. So the hierarchy was based on looks, most beautiful down to most ugly in society, and that's a woman it's a matriarchy, right? And so it's part of women's nature to be that superficial that it's all about looks. Of course, that matriarchy didn't last more than a couple of generations, I think, from memory. It got run over by the Huns or something like that. Like there was some invasion that happened, and of course the women, didn't matter how good looking they were dead. It's female nature to do with. It's not about society teaching women. It's all about looks. It's just built into them.
Our value is measured in how many men want us and how many men find us attractive. Men, on the other hand, have never been taught that. Men are human first, ugly second.
No, incorrect again. Men are not human first and ugly second. And society isn't teaching men that at all. Men are invisible. Right? Unless you're Zac Efron, to use your example, men are invisible in our society. The suffering of men is invisible. The abuse of men is invisible to society, to women, society in general. And then that's what men learn from a very early age, that they are disposable. And you have a look at Ukraine, for example, okay? So women and children, refugees, men of fighting age, 18 to 60, for Christ's sakes, not allowed to leave the country because they may be needed to pick up arms, take up arms in defence of their country. And that's man's lot in life, get abused by the society we live in constantly without any recognition whatsoever, denigrated in every media, for all over, in every walk of life. And then when shit hits the fan, you're called upon to lay your life down to protect the society that's treated you like shit your whole life. That's reality, okay, and it's playing out in Europe today. And if your women can't see it, it's not men's fault.
And it's quite the opposite with women when we think about it in the way society views us. A man's value has never been measured in how attractive he is to women. A man's value can be measured even more in economic output, how much money they're making, and that's still based off of capitalism and the patriarchy.
Yeah, so two issues there, really, isn't there? So man's value is determined by his economic contribution to society, is what you're saying there. So a man making a lot of money has more value to society than a man who's unemployed, for example. Not the case for women, of course. Women just need to look pretty, and they can have a contribution to society just by looking pretty. TikTok's a good example of that. Women can just do a few dance moves and look pretty on camera, and they'll get a million people following them. Shake their tits around on camera, get 100,000 views. Men can't do that. Men have to actually make a real contribution to society to gain any kind of value or validation from society. So when she says a man's economic potential is down to patriarchy and capitalism, and that's why women aren't succeeding in the money field, in the economic field, that's the blame all men thing coming through there. See, that's the theme there. Women aren't to blame for their lack of ability. It's the patriarchy. It's men. Blame the nearest man for the failings of women, when in fact most women are absolutely mediocre. And there's studies that prove that men excel in all sorts of different fields because they're men, not because there's some structure that's holding women back and promoting men forward. It's because it's male nature. And history proves all this. Men got to the top of Everest first. They went to the North and South Pole first. They got into space first. It's what men do, and women claim that they could do it if they had the opportunity. Well, no one's stopping them. Not now. They just don't do it.
But thinking that a man's going to be more humble because he's not seen as attractive to most women does not work for a reason. Because he's still a man. Doesn't matter to him.